All right, guys, welcome back to Lead Like This. We're looking for leadership insights this year in the Book of Mormon, tracking the Come Follow Me schedule. We're at 1 Nephi chapter 14, verse 1. And I'm up here in the American Fork Canyon area, and I'll tell you why I'm recording this while I'm up here in just a second. But in this verse, we're going to put Jesus in the role of the leader, and we are in the role of the follower. And it says that Jesus says that I will come to them. If they hearken unto me, then I will come to them and manifest myself unto them in word and in power, in very deed, unto the removing of their stumbling blocks. So when Jesus comes to us, he comes in power. Power is the capacity to make change. Jesus's role, as a spiritual leader, but also as a leader in this setting, is to bring power, to bring the capacity to make change. And as a leader, leaders are change makers. That's what we do. We either change the macro situation, the organization, the culture, the strategy, or we change the micro situation, right? People are locked in conflict, or we're not being as productive or efficient as we could be. And so a leader comes into the situation and makes change as a change maker. And so Jesus, in this role as the leader, he's coming in as a change maker. And very specifically, it says, unto the removing of their stumbling blocks. Too often, especially in church leadership, but also in other management forums, we think the role of the leader is to step in and do the work. The task isn't getting done. The strategy isn't being accomplished. And so, if you want something done, you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. So we step in and we say, let me do this for you. But Jesus very specifically here says, I'm not doing the work for you. You got to walk the trail. You've got to accomplish the goal, because ultimately his real goal is that we are becoming the kind of people that can walk the trail and accomplish the goal. But we're going to get stuck. We're going to have stumbling blocks that trip us up. And he will come to us. If we hearken to him, he'll come to us and he'll remove those so that we can keep going. All right, that's the pivotal role that Jesus plays in our progression. He doesn't do the work for us, but he helps us to get unstuck, because we're going to get stuck. And as a leader, you've got to know that your people are going to get stuck, whether they're stuck in conflict or stuck in culture or stuck in self-limiting beliefs. They're going to get stuck and they're going to give in to the status quo. And as a leader, what you do is you come to them and you remove the stumbling blocks. You help them get unstuck, and then you let them be on their way. So here's the analogy that we just experienced. We got up here to the trailhead, and a group of teenagers, probably 18 or 19 years old, had tried to take their little Pathfinder over a 5-foot snowbank at the end of the road. So the road was plowed up to a certain point. What they didn't know is that it was plowed up to the gate, and that underneath that 5-foot snowbank was a metal gate and a concrete barrier. And they tried to take it over because they wanted to go joyriding up the canyon on the snow roads. So when we got to the trailhead, they were stuck there. The sheriff was there, and they were kind of just like stuck. And nobody was doing anything or saying anything. They were just kind of like, what do we do at this point? And one of the guys that was with us says, well, we got a lot of people. Why don't we try to push you out? Well, they've tried to push already, and logically, like, this is really unlikely. But we get engaged and we start trying to dig out. We got a snow shovel. We start trying to dig out a little bit and all these things. But then while he's trying to get over, we notice that one of the back tires isn't turning. So he thinks that he's got it in 4-wheel drive, in 4-low, but he doesn't. And so he's just spinning his front tires. They're like 2 inches off the ground. And so there's absolutely no traction happening. So the sheriff goes over and basically teaches him how to actually get it to lock into 4-low. And probably needed a little push from us, but mostly the tires did the work. He got over the bank. There was a tow rope on the back as well, pulling from that end. And so you can see here that this is the analogy of getting stuck. We got him stuck, and then we left as he was getting his ticket written up from the sheriff. We just left and we walked away. But what we were able to do in that moment is provide just a little insight or just a little assistance, just enough to get them unstuck, and then they're going to have to figure out their way from here going forward. And that's what the role of the leader is, and Jesus models that in this scripture. The role of the leader is to notice when your people are stuck and to come in and to provide them just enough so they can pick it up and keep going. Unfortunately, what we see so often in management settings and leadership settings is the leader comes in and they're frustrated, and they start to develop a belief that you're dumb. And they don't say those words, but they sort of developed the belief that you're dumb, you're incapable, you're not able to do these kind of things. And I guess I'm going to have to come in here and do it for you again. And what they didn't realize is that the individual actually did have a desire. They did have a belief and a desire to participate and to contribute. But they started to second guess themselves. And so when we come into that stumbling block situation and we communicate through our unspoken language that we think you're incapable, and we do that largely by how we interact with them, but also by how we step in and take over. That reinforces the narrative that they've already started to play with in their own minds. And so over time, the more we do that, the more they learn their way into helplessness. It's called learned helplessness. And pretty soon, it's as if they can't do it, when in reality, they were really close to being able to do it in the first place. They just needed an insight, or they needed an arm around the shoulder, or they needed a story to remind them. Or maybe if it is a technical role, they needed someone to say, hey, did you know if you just clicked that key on the keyboard, that it makes this job a lot easier? And all of a sudden they're like, whoa, okay, now I see it. So I encourage you as leaders, as you're doing your work, pay attention, first of all, to those who are stuck or tripping or stumbling blocks. And then before you jump in to solve it, before you jump in to fix it, just watch for a minute and see if you can observe and see what's really going on here, what's holding them back. And it's usually a self-limiting belief. And then start to discern, what could I do in this situation that might help them get unstuck, but mostly help them challenge the self-limiting belief that's holding them back from trying to get themselves unstuck. You see, that guy down at the bottom of the canyon, he believed he was in four-wheel drive. But when we discovered that he wasn't, and that he didn't know how to lock it into four low, then we were able to help him. He did the work. He's the one who put it into four-wheel drive. The sheriff was just standing next to him. We weren't in the car driving the car, even though we were trying to push from the outside. But largely, he got himself unstuck by just locking that baby into four low. And then it was his friend there with the truck, with the rope, and they were able to get themselves out. So look for those opportunities. Who is stuck? And pay attention before you jump in to solve. You know, if someone's drowning, then you save them from drowning. But if they're not drowning, then you just watch for a minute. You watch them struggle, and watch for a day or a week or a month until it starts to settle in on you. Okay, here's what is holding them back, and here's how I could get them unstuck so that they believe again and start doing the work of whatever it is that they need to do.